We're flying high with the birds as we talk all about perch in this episode of Little Big Thumbs. One of my favorite games from 2025 was Perch from Inside Up Games. This is a game that's billed as a highly interactive game with a really nasty edge, but I never stopped percolating on ideas for introducing this game of sneaky strategy to younger players. In this video, I'm going to share a few ideas for making Perch a little bit more accessible for younger players, and also take a quick peek at the upcoming Birds of Play expansion. But first, let's learn about the core game as a whole. So let's get to warming up our wings and learn about the ducky details of Perch. Perch is a competitive game for 2 to 5 players, with the publisher recommending it for ages 14 and up. Experienced players will typically complete this game in under an hour. Each player controls a flock of colorful birds, visiting a variety of lovely locations over the course of 5 rounds. With every round, we'll be placing 2 of our own birds, plus 2 more drawn from this silky bag. Sometimes that'll just be more of our own birds, but sometimes we're going to have to place the birds of other players. Some locations allow the controlling player to attract special creatures. Others have cozy nests to make a player's bird stack a little bit taller. And in the later rounds of the game, we'll also have bird houses to protect our own bird stacks or limit the growth of others, and zappy lightning bolts to remove a bird from a location and send it fleeing to the fountain board. Location points are scored at the end of each round, and at the end of the game, additional points can be earned by achieving a hidden objective, having the largest flock on any location, being in control of a creature, and having birds on the fountain board. There is so much variety to be found in Perch, and depending on the particular combination of locations, the game can become rather thinky and sometimes a little bit nasty. Up next, we're going to lower the thinky and reduce that nasty as we share a few ways to bring younger players to the table for this cute game of flappy fun. I want to quickly be clear before we jump into this next section of the video. We are not trying to redesign Perch here. It's actually grown to be one of my favorite games, but it does have some layers that might result in a negative experience when my kids are at the table. So what I'm aiming to do here is to introduce the game to them in layers so that eventually they'll be able, and more importantly, excited to play the full experience of Perch all together as a family. The foundational layer of this game revolves around drawing and placing birds. So we want that to be the focus of our quick, kid-friendly variant. Our first alteration is going to be playing this game with 3 rounds instead of 5. This change helps us out in a couple of different ways. By skipping the 4th and 5th rounds, we're also removing the birdhouse and zap tokens from the game, which means that a couple of the meanest mechanics in this game are no longer really a factor. And not only that, but we've also cut the playtime nearly in half. And if I want my younger players to look fondly at this game for the future, making sure that it doesn't overstay its welcome right now is going to be a really key part of that puzzle. Our second modification is to remove the fountain board. This one is kind of tricky because it also forces us to remove several of the special and creature location tiles. But we want to keep in mind that what we're trying to do here is not make permanent changes to the game. We're just trying to make temporary stepping stones so that the kids will come and stay at the table. It's all about scaffolding the learning of this one into layers, and the bird placement should be the foundation of it all. Since the fountain board is also our score tracker, we've just been using a scoring app on my phone to keep track of who's ahead. There's probably no harm in keeping the fountain board out on the table for scoring purposes, but in my mind, reducing the visual clutter with kids at the table is going to be ultimately a big win. Our final big change to Perch is really focusing on the basic location tiles and keeping most of the special and creature locations back in the box. If you want to stick with the tile arrangement from the rulebook, some special tiles will absolutely be needed, but for a 2 or 3 player game, that means adding just 1 creature and 1 special tile, which is a pretty manageable number of extra rules. But by using all or most of the basic location tiles, what we're really drilling home here is that core mechanism of the game that really isn't about simple majorities on the location tiles. There are lots of points to be had by being in 2nd or 3rd place on a tile, and that's a pretty unique concept for kids to wrap their heads around. The secret goal cards could be left out or maybe placed face up at the start of the game, just so we're reducing the amount of hidden information that we're using. But I have to admit that I absolutely love the sheer number of bird puns on those cards, so I really want to keep them around if possible. And those are our suggestions for modifying Perch to make for a smooth introduction to children. As I mentioned previously, my plan is to eventually bring every element back into this game when I'm playing with my kids, almost like they're unlocking bonus content as we play more of this game together. Let us know in the comments if you think these suggestions are way off base, or maybe if you might be tempted to try out Perch with your kids. Birds of Play is the first expansion for Perch, and at the time of this recording, Inside Up Games is preparing to launch a campaign to fund the printing of this expansion. Inside the box, we're going to find 3 modules named Pondemonium, Points in the Sky, and Seeds the Day. And the one module that far and away is going to be the clear winner to first introduce to kids is that last one, Seeds the Day. In this mini expansion, we're adding 1 bird feeder to each location at the beginning of the game, and the first player to place a bird at each location takes the feeder and scores an immediate 3 points. For experienced players, this module is going to encourage a shift in some early game maneuvers, and for younger players, I might even suggest adding this module before some of the base game elements. It gives kids some instant gratification and changes the initial decision to a simple, "Do I want points?" And of course, the answer to that question is a resounding yes. Our second little expansion is the biggest bang for our component buck in this box. And that's because that little expansion, Points in the Sky, is only made up of 2 tiles. One for the sun and another for the moon. These 2 tiles replace how 2 locations will be scoring every round, and after each round, they rotate locations, making for some wildly shifting scoring situations. And while this module is quite minimalistic, it really adds a fresh layer of tactical planning to the game, and for that reason, it might be my favorite of the bunch. And finally, of the 3 slices of this expansion pie, Pondemonium is the biggest and meatiest. It adds pawns, bread tokens, and even new characters with matching location tiles to bring into the game. The pawns sit in the middle of 3 adjacent locations, and before or after placing a bird, a player can discard a bread token to move a bird from an adjacent location right onto the pawn space. At the end of each round, any player with birds in the pond has the opportunity to score points based on how many birds they have in all of the pond adjacent locations. It adds a whole extra scoring dimension, and for that reason, this expansion is really only for experienced players. I won't be introducing this expansion to my kids until they're a fair bit older and more experienced with the game, but for Perch veterans, I could see the Pondemonium expansion being the most attractive and satisfying of the 3 in the Birds of Play box. Alright, I think that about does it for this video. We've had a little mini overview of the game, our quick start tips, and a peek at that Birds of Play expansion. If you're curious to learn more about Perch and the Birds of Play expansion, check the links in our video description. Thank you to Inside Up for sending us a review copy of Perch and for giving us a pre-production sample of the Birds of Play expansion. We will be back again soon, and until then, whether you've got little players or big players, make sure that you keep playing games that make your thumbs go way up. Bye for now.